All right, let's jump right in. As a leader, your most precious resource isn't money. It's not people. It's your own focus. There's this constant pressure to be everywhere, to do everything. But what if I told you the real key to maximizing your impact isn't about doing more? It's about doing less, but doing it smarter. We're going to explore exactly how focusing on the right few things can help you and your organization achieve so much more. So let's start with a really direct question for you. Are you focused on the right work? I mean, really think about it. Imagine for a second that you're the most talented person on your team. At everything. You write faster, you're a better strategist, you close deals better than anyone. So does that mean you should be the one doing all of it?
Of course not, right? And that is the absolute core paradox of effective leadership. Just because you're the most capable doesn't mean you should be the one executing the task. The question you should be asking isn't, can I do this well? The real question is, what is the highest and best use of my time right now? To really get this, we need to unpack what I call the efficiency paradox. It's this counterintuitive idea where you doing something you're amazing at can actually be the least efficient thing you could possibly do for your organization. Sounds weird, I know, but stick with me. This right here is the classic example for a reason. It just makes it so clear. A doctor is almost certainly a faster, more accurate typist than their receptionist, but every single minute that doctor spends typing up notes is a minute they are not spending with a patient, which is their highest value activity. The opportunity cost of them typing is huge. Now, the receptionist, their highest value is admin support, so the opportunity cost for them to type is incredibly low. That makes it their area of highest relative efficiency. And look, this powerful idea isn't some hot new management fad from a book that just came out. It's a fundamental economic principle that was first laid out by David Ricardo all the way back in 1817. And I'm telling you, it is the intellectual bedrock of all modern corporate strategy, from how you delegate tasks to how companies think about global outsourcing. Let's break down the two concepts you have to know. First, you've got absolute advantage. This one's pretty straightforward. If you can do something faster or better than anyone else, you have the absolute advantage. Just like the doctor who can type faster, it's about being the best, period. Easy enough. But this is where the strategy really kicks in. Comparative advantage. This is all about relative efficiency. It makes you ask that crucial question, what do I have to give up to do this task? See, it's not about being the best at everything. It's about finding where your advantage is the greatest compared to all your other options. Okay, let's put some numbers to this because this is where it really clicks. On the surface, Country Alpha looks like the winner, right? It has an absolute advantage in both cars and wheat. It just makes more of everything. But look closer. Look at the opportunity cost. For Alpha to make one car, it has to give up making 1 ton of wheat. But Beta only gives up 0.67 tons of wheat to make a car. And that difference, that's everything. So get this. Even though Alpha is objectively better at making cars, Beta has the comparative advantage. Strategically, the best move is for Beta to go all in on cars, Alpha to go all in on wheat, and then they trade. When they do that, both countries end up with more total stuff than if they tried to do it all themselves. It proves that being the absolute best isn't what matters. It's about specializing where your relative advantage is greatest. So, what on earth does a 19th century theory about global trade have to do with your Monday morning meeting? Well, it has everything to do with it. Let's translate this into a mandate for specialization, for you and for your entire organization. It really comes down to a simple 3-step playbook. First, you have to audit your time. Get real about what you're actually doing all week. Second, analyze the opportunity cost. For every routine report you spend an hour on, what strategic conversation are you not having? And third, you have to act on that knowledge. That means strategically delegating or even outsourcing everything that doesn't align with your absolute highest point of contribution. And here's a tool you can use this afternoon, an executive time audit, but you have to be ruthless with yourself. Map out your week. How many hours are going into high-value work, like strategic planning, versus low-value, but maybe necessary, stuff like managing email? I guarantee this simple exercise will be a huge eye-opener. It'll show you exactly where your focus is being drained away. The mandate here is crystal clear. Delegation isn't a weakness. It's the ultimate sign of strategic focus. It's you, as a leader, making the deliberate choice to put your energy where it creates exponential value, and then trusting and empowering others to do the same.
Okay, now for the really hard part, because applying this theory in the real world isn't a simple math problem. It involves people, it involves teams, it involves culture. When you start to truly specialize and outsource, you create shifts inside the company, and those have to be managed with incredible care and strategic communication. Let's just be honest about it. This process creates winners and losers, at least in the short term. When you pivot the organization towards its comparative advantage, let's say it's high-tech services, that is fantastic news for your R&D and engineering teams. But it can be deeply disruptive for other teams, say in domestic manufacturing, whose roles might now be outsourced. This is the root of so much of the political and organizational tension you feel. And this right here is where leadership is truly tested. Your job is to stand in that tension. It's about pushing for long-term strategic health, while at the same time managing the very real, very human impact on your people. You simply cannot succeed if you ignore one for the other. So how do you talk about this? When you're in front of your team, here are 3 messages you have to nail. First, you have to frame this as an evolution. This is a strategic move toward higher value work for everyone, not just a line item cost cut. Second, be transparent about the future. Announce clear, funded pathways for upskilling people into new roles. And third, connect the dots for them. Show everyone how this difficult change is absolutely essential for the entire company's long-term survival and success. When you do this right, you can completely reframe outsourcing from being a threat to being an opportunity. It becomes the very thing that frees up your best internal talent to pivot into more strategic, higher impact roles. You're actually fostering real career growth for the people who are ready to step up. So let's bring this all home. Because applying the principle of comparative advantage isn't really about short-term efficiency gains. It's about fundamentally re-architecting your organization to be more agile, more innovative, and more competitive for the next decade. As a leader, you face this fundamental choice every single day. The protectionist instinct is always there to shield the jobs and processes we have today from any disruption. And it feels safer in the moment, but I promise you, it leads straight to inefficiency and getting left behind. The strategic path is to embrace specialization because that's what builds the agility and focus you need to actually win. Let me be blunt. An inward-looking, protectionist mindset is a strategic dead end. When you try to do everything internally, you are actively preventing your organization from putting its best resources, its money, its talent, its focus on the very things where it has the biggest advantage. You're weakening your own competitive position. So, once you've successfully delegated and outsourced the rest, what's left for you to do? This is your real job. Setting the vision, building the key relationships, mentoring your next line of leaders, and driving the big, scary, innovative changes. These are the things that only you can do. This is your comparative advantage. We started with a simple question: are you focused on the right work? But now, understanding comparative advantage, that question should land with a lot more weight. It's not just about what you're good at anymore. It's about what you're willing to courageously let go of. So I'll leave you with this. What is the highest and best use of your time right now? Your answer to that question will define your impact.